Hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and welcome back to another Cyberpunk 2077 challenge run. In my last run, I attempted to beat Fallout 4's survival difficulty with only energy weapons, which turned out to be a marathon of a run, so today I want to take on something equally as big as I try to beat Cyberpunk 2077's very hard difficulty as a sniper, including Phantom Liberty. Before we jump into the run, let's lay down some ground rules. I can only use sniper rifles to deal damage, with the exception of the times where the game forces me to use another weapon. I must play the entire game on the very hard difficulty. I can't use any bugs or glitches on purpose to exploit the game, and I won't be using any mods. With the rules of the run laid out, let's take a look at the challenge itself. Unlike the other games I run, I still don't know too much about Cyberpunk and its mechanics, but what I do know is that there's not much availability for sniper rifles in the early game, meaning I'll have to get creative with how I level up. Past that, snipers in Cyberpunk have very small magazines, and the game loves to throw hordes of enemies at you, so I have a feeling that I'll have to be very clever at finding ways to avoid damage as I reload or swap weapons. Overall, the weapons available to me do have one feature that they excel at, and that is of course single shot damage, which should allow me to be able to one-shot a lot of the weaker enemies, but I'm gonna be playing on very hard difficulty, which means that they might have huge hit point pools, so I guess we'll see how true that idea is. With that, I think it's time to just jump right into the run where I pick the very hard difficulty and the street kid start before randomizing until I find the perfect one-shot wonder version of V. I don't bother using any of the skill points here in the character creator as it's better to spend them after the game starts, so with that I complete character creation and find myself in a bar, mending some bruised knuckles as the bartender pours me a drink and I fix my broken nose. I then speak with him and his name is Pepe and he apparently has some debt that he owes to a fixer known as Kirk. If he doesn't pay, he'll end up with his kneecaps broken, so I agree to talk to Kirk for him, and with that I head upstairs and speak with the man himself, and it turns out that he's willing to forgive Pepe's debt if I go steal this Rayfield car for him. It's some kind of rare supercar and there's only like 4 of them in Night City, and I agree to do it because it seems like an easy enough job. I then head outside and give a homeless man $1 before happening across another fixer named Padre who gives me a ride to the parking garage. On the ride there, I chat a bit with him, but we get interrupted by some punk who threatens Padre. I stand up for the fixer and we proceed on our way where he gives me his business card and I exit his ride and enter the parking garage where the security guard turns off the cameras as I use this gizmo to unlock the car. As I'm about to drive off, a man comes up to the car and holds me at gunpoint trying to hijack my carjacking, which is very fun to say. Anyways, after a little while, the cops show up and beat the crap out of us. I learn that the man who messed up my plan is named Jackie, and we become fast friends as we go to get some chili at his mom's bar, which happens to be the bar where I started the game in, and then have this massive montage over the next few months showing V and Jackie taking on a ton of jobs, and the montage is pretty cool. I can't quite remember, but I believe it's slightly different than whenever I did the Corpo route, but that might be wrong. I might be hallucinating that. After the montage ends, I find myself in my new car with Jackie, and we are on a mission to save a woman named Sandra Dorset from some gang in this apartment building. Now, it's at this point that I decide it's within the spirit of the run for me to do a few stealth takedowns, at least until I get a sniper rifle, because otherwise I'm not sure I'll get past the kind of tutorial bit of this game, so I proceed to take down the entire gang without being detected even once, before finding the damsel in distress who just so happens to be doing her best narcoleptic polar bear impression. That was okay. You know what? I recently had a comment that was like, oh yes, your comparisons and your like metaphors and similes are really bad. Yeah, no, that one was bad. I'll give you all that one. Anyways, she's in a bathtub filled with ice, assumedly because they're going to steal her cyberware. So I go to pull her out of the bathtub, and we realize that she's dying, so I have to stab her with an air hypo, which is effectively Cyberpunk's version of a stim pack or any other magical needle that heals everything, which really just seems like a useful thing to have laying around, just like a pair of everyday earbuds by Raycon. With summer kicking off, it's finally time for everybody to get outside and and start enjoying the warmer weather, and no matter what you have planned, be it hiking a trail or going to the gym, you can listen to your favorite music, podcasts, and videos like this one using a pair of Raycons. I use mine when going to the gym, and the active noise cancellation is my favorite feature as it really lets me focus on workouts and is also super useful for taking calls when out and about. Another awesome feature is the carrying cases that come with every pair in a variety of colors and styles, which not only protect the earbuds but also allow you to recharge them incredibly quickly, leading to that 32-hour battery life. All of this, and I haven't even mentioned the best part, which is how affordable Raycons are, being about half the price of other premium audio brands, and you can get that price even lower if you want to pick up a pair for yourself today by going to buyraycon.com/willow to get up to 15% off of Raycon's best-selling everyday earbuds by using my link. Thank you to Raycon for sponsoring this video. Let's get back into it. Anyways, after saving Sandra Dorset's life, I take her outside where the world's most aggressive paramedics take her off my hands before tasing me. After riding the lightning, I go ahead and jump on another ride, the elevator, back down to my car, where Jackie starts to drive me home. The NCPD are locking down this section of the city, so it's a race to the border as we get attacked by some scavs in a van. Luckily, I don't have to shoot at them as they really struggle with the whole keeping the car on the road bit of driving, and we reach the NCPD checkpoint where Jackie smooth talks his way through the roadblock, letting us continue on our way until we watch these carjackers get absolutely dunked on by the elite forces of the NCPD known as MaxTac, and then get dropped off at my apartment where I go to bed and wake up with a massive hangover, which is a bit strange because I didn't drink, but apparently there was some kind of virus on that Sandra lady that I caught, so I need to head to the Ripper Dock. I head out of my apartment and check the local gun shop before leaving the building and meeting up with Jackie at a food stand. He tells me that I need to meet up with a fixer named Dexter Deshawn, who is apparently some kind of big deal and has a possible job for us. So we go ahead and hop in my car and I drive over to Victor, the local Ripper Dock, who gives me a new hand and eye for the upcoming job. I promise to pay him back before heading out to meet up with Dexter, who is in his car nearby. We ride around the city for a bit as he drones on about going out in a blaze of glory or living a quiet life, and after that he reveals that the job he has planned for us is high stakes. We're going to be stealing a biochip from one of the top people at the Arasaka Corporation. To put that into context, corporations in Cyberpunk are stronger than most nations, so going against them is quite rough. Anyways, Dexter wants to test us out before the big job, so he needs me to go do some prep work. First, we need to go retrieve a robot that he paid for from the Maelstrom boys, and then we need to go talk with the client who is fronting the entire operation to prove myself and the team before the big heist on Arasaka. Naturally, I agree to take on this heist before immediately ignoring his demands because I need to get myself a sniper rifle promptly. Unfortunately for me, this turns out to be a very difficult process as I spend a lot of time running around trying to find a sniper. From using stealth takedowns on a bunch of random thugs around the city to scouring all of the gun shops, I am trying everything I can think of to find one. I'm sure that there is some location that people in the comments are going to mention to get one easily at level 1, but I don't know about it, so I start trying to take on some NCPD missions to maybe find one, but this turns out to be a colossal waste of time as I couldn't sneak through them. So instead, I continue to check all the gun shops available to me and take on random side jobs such as this one where I find a man who's installed some questionable cyberware that is, well, it's currently burning his garage. I have to drive him to a Ripper Dock, but we keep getting stopped by things like kids crossing the road and police roadblocks, but eventually I get him to the Ripper Dock so he can deal with his burning sensations. I then start this side gig where I'm supposed to listen to this street preacher a bunch of times, so I show up to a few of his sermons, and this ends up being kind of pointless because I don't see how I'm gonna get a sniper out of this. So I move on and start another side job where I speak with this monk who has a ton of cyberware installed, which is a little bit weird because monks aren't supposed to use any cyberware. He explains that he and his brother were kidnapped by the Maelstrom gang, and he was forcibly altered by one of their Ripper dogs. Apparently, the gang still has his brother, and he is desperate to save him from the fate that he has suffered. I let him know I'll save his brother before heading over to where the Maelstrom boys are, and start using stealth takedowns to slowly but surely get rid of each and every one of them until I can save the monk and once again go check out a gun shop to no avail. I then decide to take on some gigs, which are like side jobs, but different? Honestly, I'm completely unsure how they are different. Same with the NCPD jobs. Side jobs, gigs, and NCPD jobs are all just side quests. They just have different names and are slightly different, and it's kind of weird that there's so many names for side quests in this game, but moving on. The first one I take on requires me to steal a van filled with synth leather from a compound in the city. This is more of me sneaking around and finding ways to do stealth takedowns on various thugs around the compound. Dude, I am struggling with words today. Anyways, this is honestly starting to feel a bit odd because I've basically done no sniping in the sniper-only run, and I've just been doing stealth takedown after stealth takedown, but eventually I have to either level up enough for a gun shop to carry a sniper rifle or just find one on an enemy. Like, it can't be this difficult, can it? I do wonder if it's going to feel a bit odd when I finally get to shoot somebody in this run. Anyways, I do end up dying once during this gig, but I eventually managed to clear out the entire compound before taking and dropping off the van at the safe house. That gig was pretty easy, so I go ahead and take on another one. This time I have to save a doctor from the Maelstrom boys, and this gig took me a while as I kept getting detected and had to run away multiple times to lose detection. Eventually though, I clear out all the Maelstrom boys and help the doctor stabilize her patient before escorting her to the getaway vehicle. I then get involved in some random gunfight when the Maelstrom boys chase me into some other gang and a bunch of NCPD officers. I wait for everybody to kill each other before selling all the loot from these various gigs and level up. I take the skills and perks you can see on screen now before heading off to yet another gig. And who would have guessed it, it's about the Maelstrom gang once again, as I need to get a recording of some initiation process from one of their hideouts. This took a long time, and I ended up dying on my first 2 attempts, but on the third I managed to use these nearby NCPD officers to help me eliminate a bunch of the Maelstrom boys before eventually entering the hideout and slowly but surely clearing it out by using a ton of stealth takedowns, and this took a long while, but eventually I get it down to where there's only one enemy remaining, and then run over to this computer where I download the recordings and run away from the hideout. I then run around all of the gun shops in town for the umpteenth time, and oh my god, there it is! The sniper rifle! It's taken me 8 hours of gameplay to finally get one, and I am so happy. Naturally, I go ahead and get back to the main story by heading off to get the flathead robot from the Maelstrom boys, and I hope they aren't mad at me after all the issues I've caused them. On my way over to the All Meats factory where they're located at, I call and speak with a woman named Meredith Stout from Militech, who is trying to find the missing convoy that the Maelstrom boys took from them. I show up for a meeting with her where I get assaulted by this big guy before trying to cut a deal with her, but the deal seems kind of crappy, so I decline her offer and head off to the All Meats factory without the Militech money. So I make my way over and meet up with Jackie before entering the factory, which is filled with a bunch of stolen Militech equipment. We eventually make our way up this elevator and meet a man named Dum Dum, who offers me some drugs and shows Jackie and I how the flathead works. I eventually mention that we already paid their former leader Brick for the bot, but this upsets their current leader Royce, who comes out and holds me at gunpoint. We then spend a while in a tense standoff before I just pay him once again for the bot, and we leave the factory without any combat, which I didn't even know was an option, so that's good to know for the future. Jackie and I are then escorted out of the factory by Dum Dum, and then I head over to Lizzie's bar and speak with the bartender there, where I try and bribe him to tell me where Evelyn Parker is, but he won't take the money. Luckily, she reveals herself and we go into a back room where she talks about the heist a bit more before she takes me down to the basement, where I meet a woman named Junie, who is a Judy. Judy is a brain dance editor, and apparently Evelyn recorded a brain dance of the heist location for us, and we're going to use it to find the biochip that we are stealing. I think this is the first time I've mentioned it, but yeah, the heist involves stealing a prototype biochip from Yorinobu Arasaka, the heir to the Arasaka Corporation. Anyways, I quickly go through the brain dance with Judy and find out where the biochip is being stored before making my way over to to the afterlife alongside Jackie, T-Bug, and Dexter to go over the heist plan one last time. I also negotiate with Dexter and get a bigger cut for me and Jackie before we get suited up and head out to this fancy Delamain car to start the heist. It's at this point that I realize that I didn't really need to go get a sniper in the first place, because I immediately lose all my weapons at the beginning of this quest, as we aren't allowed to bring guns into the hotel. We're already 9 hours into this run, and I have yet to use a gun, so you know what? Let's do a mini challenge. Let's see how long it takes before I actually use a sniper in the sniper run. Anyways, I go ahead and make my way through security with Jackie, where I have to explain that we're arms dealers to get the flathead inside, before telling the front desk lady not to notify the person we're supposed to be meeting, because we're not really supposed to meet anyone here. I then make my way up to our room and start this section where I have to guide the flathead through the building so we can take down the building's netrunner. This section is really fun, and I kinda wish there was more like it, but then again, I could see this getting annoying if it was overdone. Either way, I go ahead and take down the netrunner using the flathead's special facehugger attack before chilling in the room until T-Bug can hack the building's security. Then Jackie and I head up to the penthouse, and I quickly loot everything I can, and we grab the biochip case, but as we go to leave, we find out that Yorinobu is returning to his penthouse, and someone just landed on the roof, so we have to hide inside this server rack. We wait a bit, and I end up getting scanned, which is weird because nobody in the room really seems to care that we're here, but we find out the man who landed on the roof is Yorinobu's father, Saburo, the head of the Arasaka Corporation. He's here to accuse his son of treason, and with that, we watch a little bit of patricide happen, which really screws up our plans, as now we need to find a way to escape. T-Bug ends up dying as she tries to find us a way out, but she manages to unlock these doors for us to the balcony, and I decide to immediately ignore the big door that the game is trying to point me towards and head up this set of stairs to the roof of the building, which I've never done before. I find Saburo's AV alongside a couple of guards. I try and use stealth takedowns on these guards, but I immediately screw it up and end up dying very quickly. On my second attempt, I do manage to take them down and open the AV to find Saburo's personal log, but unfortunately, it's an AV, so it's not just gonna fly us away or anything. So I have to go back down to those doors the game really wanted me to go through, and I do so before trying to shimmy across this little ledge, only for me and Jackie to get shot at by a massive drone, which causes us to jump off the ledge and fall through a glass ceiling, and Jackie is really hurt. To add salt to the wound, that fancy biochip container is damaged, and we have to put the chip into one of our neural ports in order to preserve it, so Jackie does just that, and we continue making our way down the tower, and like the base, I just keep dropping. Both myself and the Arasaka soldiers, of course. It takes me a solid 2 hours to sneak my way through this entire thing, because I'm about as competent at sneaking in video games as a scuba diver on a spaceship. Wait, does that make any sense? Why is that the comparison I came up with? Go down below and comment a better punchline to that horrible joke. Oh, and while you're down there, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Anyways, yeah, I struggle with this area for a long while, but after proving that I'm stubborn enough to make my way into the parking garage with Jackie, we start this cool scene where we're escaping in the Delamain, and I have to shoot down some drones that are chasing us. I just want to clarify really quick that there are a bunch of sections in Cyberpunk that force you to use a certain weapon, and most of them are basically just on a timer, so if you refuse to shoot, it will just automatically kill you at a certain point. Anyways, the reason I want to clarify this is because I'm not counting this against the run, as the game does not give me a choice to not use this pistol to shoot down all of the drones. With the drones flawlessly dealt with, we continue on our way to the motel to meet up with Dexter, when Jackie bites the big one after telling me I'm gonna be rich. Honestly, I didn't think this scene was gonna be as emotional the second time, but it really is. They really make you like Jackie, and then they just take him away from you so soon. Anyways, last run I sent Jackie to his mom, and this time I want to see what happens if you send him to Victor's clinic, so that's what I do, and then I get out of the Delamain and sell all my stuff before speaking with Dex, who is upset about the heist going sideways and tells me to go clean up in the bathroom. Instead of cleaning up, I break the mirror and step outside, only to get shot in the face by this fat backstabber, which quickly kills me. I then go through this cool section with a door zooming in that feels like it's out of a horror game before seeing Keanu Reeves, Johnny Silverhand, in a mirror as he threatens this random dude. After that, I start the concert and time skips forward to after the concert, where I tell these groupies of my band that they are wasting their lives before telling my bandmate that he should go solo. After that, I get on a helicopter alongside a woman named Rogue and we go on a rampage assaulting Arasaka Tower. So these sections where I play as a different character aren't really relevant to the run, as you have no choice in weapons or skills, so I'm just gonna gloss over it and let you know that Johnny drops a nuke down an elevator, uploads his manifesto to the subnet, and then gets captured by Adam Smasher before Saburo Arasaka kills him with this weird device. I then wake up in this landfill and start crawling my way out of it, only for Dexter Deshawn of all people to show up and drag me out. He then tries to talk to Saburo's bodyguard from earlier whenever we did the heist. Anyways, the only response he gets is a supersonic lobotomy before the strange man pulls me into his car and tells me that I smell bad. I pass out again and wake up to us being attacked by a bunch of robo-biker ninjas, and this is another section where I'm forced to shoot at enemies with a specific weapon, so I quickly wipe out all of the ninjas while riding that fine line of death and glory as my health bar hovers near zero. We end up crashing and I have to call Delamain to pick us up and take us to Vic's clinic. I then fade in and out of consciousness a few times as Takamura does some mild surgery on me in the back seat. We then arrive at Victor's clinic and he assumedly does more surgery on me, and after a while I wake up for good and get told by Victor that I'm dying. The section that I played through earlier with Arasaka Tower and Johnny Silverhand weren't dreams, but instead memories of Johnny Silverhand himself, and the biochip is slowly rewriting my brain and replacing me with Johnny Silverhand. I then get taken back to my apartment by Misty, who was Jackie's girlfriend, and she also works with Vic. Anyways, she gives me 2 bottles of pills, one that will treat the symptoms and the other that will speed them up. I then pass out and wake up to find Johnny freaking out about a cigarette, and we spend a little while arguing and fighting each other until eventually I manage to take my meds and shut him up. I then take a shower and get a phone call from Takamura asking me to meet him at a nearby diner. So I do just that, and he asks for my help, and we discuss some kind of plan he has to bring justice to Yorinobu and clear my name so Arasaka can save me. We also discuss Evelyn Parker, the woman who gave me the job, and a man named Anders Hellman, who is the lead designer of the biochip that's currently killing me. Takamura then tries to fight the owner of the diner, and we agree to part ways. After he leaves, I have a nice chat with Johnny where he says he doesn't want to kill me anymore and that we should go speak with Rogue at the afterlife. I go ahead and make my way there, where I sit down with Rogue as Johnny helps me get on her good side. I end up paying her 15,000 eddies to find Anders Hellman for us, and then I go sit in the bar for 24 hours drowning away my sorrows before speaking with her again. She then reveals that Anders fled Arasaka to sell the biochip plans to another corp called Kang Tao, and he is apparently going to be in an AV out of the city very soon, and the only chance to down the AV and capture him is going to be over the Badlands. So naturally, I need a Nomad guide to help me, and she just so happens to have someone in mind. A woman named Panam who got betrayed and botched her recent job, and apparently she knows where Panam's truck is, as well as the goods that were stolen from her. She says that if I help Panam, she might help me, so with that, I leave the afterlife and call Panam, who gives me a place to meet, and along the way there, I stop by Japantown to get the reward for the Sandra Dorset quest from the fixer Wakwako. Wakwako? Quack! Oh man, I don't know why, but that was really funny to me. Wakwako. Wakwako. It's a fun thing to say, Wakwako. Anyways, I meet up with Panam while she's working on a stolen car. After a short argument, I manage to convince her that I'll help her get her ride and goods back, and in return, she'll help me get Hellman. We then chat for a while as she drives us out to her former Nomad camp. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, she's an exile from the Aldercaldos, which is a group of nomads. Anyways, the 2 nomads, Mitch and Scorpion, let us know that they won't be helping us, but they will give us some gear, so we take it and head over to the this ghost town in the middle of the Badlands, where the gang that stole her stuff should show up for a meeting. Instead of the client showing up, they'll find me and Panam, and we spend a while restoring power to the town by using the car that she stole to jumpstart a substation, which seems incredibly unrealistic, but whatever, and then we wait for night to fall. The convoy shows up just as expected with a ton of enemies, and I light up the town before finally using my sniper rifle for the first time, and oh boy, this run is going to be harder than I expected. Even with headshots, it takes multiple shots even to kill the weak enemies here, and I end up dying on my first attempt with only one enemy remaining. On my second attempt, I have to play this high-stakes game of peekaboo, as all of the enemies here are laser accurate no matter the distance. I slowly but surely work my way through the ever-dwindling crowd of no-good nomads, until eventually the ghost town falls silent once more, and we hop into Panam's truck. She then insists on getting revenge on the leader of this group, so we speed to this nearby cave, which happens to be their headquarters, and I get stuck into a huge fight where I die many times. The combat is brutal, as I can't afford to expose myself for more than like a second or two, or I will just immediately die. So if I make any kind of mistake, I'm dead, and on the other hand, I have to hit very accurate shots to do any significant damage, as body shots may as well be tickling them, and headshots are kind of painful for them, but not really all that devastating. On top of that, they have their own sniper and a net runner, so I have to be careful with when and how I pop out of cover, because the netrunner alone can cast certain abilities that will just kill me, and the sniper is a guaranteed one-shot if they hit me, at least as far as I could tell. Fortunately, after many attempts, my aim proves true, and after broadening the mindset of all of the gang members who stand to oppose us, I speak with Panam, who calls Rogue to find out that Rogue is always 2 steps ahead of her. This makes Panam very upset, and we go to deliver the goods to the client and head to a bar where I find out that this beer is bottomless, and I really need this technology in the real world. I seriously just sit here drinking it forever, and there is absolutely no way that it would not be empty by now, but I hammer down a lot of beer from a very small bottle. Once I get bored of asserting dominance by drinking at Panam, we agree to share a room for the night and both go crash in this crappy motel. I then wake up near midnight and go speak with Panam in the garage, who is working on her truck. We go over a plan to use a nearby power plant to cause an EMP that will take down the AV, allowing us to capture Hellman. With that, we head out, and Panam gets me linked to the roof turret as Johnny joins us in the truck. We then spend a long while doing some target practice before going over the plan once again, as Johnny approves of us taking on a corporation from the back seat. We then wait until just before the AV is supposed to arrive before busting into the power plant, where I have to use this turret to kill off a few drones before overloading a few terminals inside, and each time I overload one of the terminals, the biochip starts freaking out and I have like a mini seizure, but eventually we escape the power plant while Johnny freaks out in the back seat, and then I get to use the detonator as the AV flies overhead, but unfortunately this doesn't seem to bring the AV down, so Panam produces a rocket launcher from thin air and hits it with some precision-guided hate. We start chasing the AV as it starts to lose altitude, but over the radio we hear Mitch and Scorpion, the 2 Alricados we met earlier, talking about helping the AV, not knowing that they were just attacked, and it's owned by a corp, so this is a very dangerous thing to try to do. Unfortunately, the EMP broke our radio or something along those lines, and they can't hear us, so we rush towards it while Panam tries to tell them to stay away, and I shoot at some drones, but while doing so, the turret jams, and Panam has to put the truck on autopilot while she fixes it, and in the process she gets hit by a ricochet round, which looks super nasty, but she gets the turret working again. I take down the remaining drones, and we head over to the wreck site, where we use a drone to scout out the area and find a bunch of dead Aldercaldos and some automated security. We also find that Mitch has just been captured, so naturally Panam wants to rush in, but I tell her I'll handle it because she's hurt, and she agrees to provide sniping support, which is a little bit redundant, I would say. Why the hell did I do that accent? That was dumb. Anyways, on my first attempt, I end up dying after killing off a few of the defending robots because the mortars on the AV are pretty much one-shots. So on my second attempt, I take things a bit slower and clear out all the robots once again before sprinting over to this AV and using the terminal signal to turn off the mortars before they can ever fire. I also ended up having to deal with this massive drone, but it's not that much of an issue because it never really pushes me, so I can just abuse cover to my heart's content and just constantly hit critical hits on him with the sniper rifles. I proceed to do a little bit of looting before we head over to the door of the AV, and I end up having to shoot the AV pilot to save Mitch after we open it. Mitch informs us that Scorpion is dead, and with that I tell Panam to stay here with Mitch, but she refuses and says she's gonna come help me. So we get on these bikes and start chasing holographic vans across the desert? Wait, this didn't happen last time. What's going on here? Anyways, there's also a small combat encounter that I didn't have last time where I have to fight some Kang Tao soldiers, and why is this so different from the last time? What did I do differently this time? Either way, I eventually reach this gas station where Hellman is currently hiding, and after opening up with my rifles, I, die. Pretty quickly, in fact. Also, I realized that I never spoke about the weapons I've been using, so let's go ahead and do that as you watch me fail a couple more times trying to clear out the gas station. So right now, I have 2 rifles available to me. They aren't anything special, but the first one is the Nekomata rifle, which is a tech rifle, meaning that I can charge up each shot, and with a fully charged shot, I can hit enemies through walls or behind cover, which is a really useful mechanic. Another big strength of it is the fact that it's semi-automatic and thus makes it a bit stronger when dealing with groups of enemies than my second rifle, which is the SPT-32 Grad, which is a bolt-action power rifle. Power weapons are a lot more like a traditional gun, and they have a chance to ricochet into nearby enemies, while also generally having higher damage numbers than all other weapon types. The Grad is basically like a Barrett 50 cal in real life, except for its bolt action, so in general it has one singular purpose, and that is to turn generic bad guy number 56 into baloney miss number 57. No idea why I chose those numbers, but we're going with it. Anyways, those are the 2 weapons I have so far, and I'll try and keep updating you when I get new ones. Moving on, I clear out the gas station and find Hellman in this back room being tended to by a medic who quickly loses his head before I knock out Hellman and carry him outside to a warm welcome from the Aldercaldos camp. After the leader of the Aldercaldos, a man named Saul, scolds Panam, and I tell him that if he wants to play the blame game, then to blame me, because we're all here because of me. I go ahead and leave and take Hellman back to that motel from earlier, and after a long conversation, he reveals that there's nothing he can do for me. I then threaten to kill him, and he offers the blueprints for the biochip as I agree and leave him to Takamura, who takes over the interrogation. As I exit the motel, I have a seizure caused by the biochip and collapse as Johnny says things are going too slowly. He then says that we need to get our hands on something called Soul Killer, the program that creates engrams like Johnny here, by zapping their consciousness and souls out of their bodies. He also says we need to find a place called Makoshi, which is some kind of prison of souls, as well as find someone named Alt Cunningham to help us. With that short list of totally reasonable demands from Johnny, I agree to help him, and now the best course of action is to track down Evelyn Parker, so I jump on to my newly acquired motorcycle and ride back to the city, and on the way to Lizzie's bar, I get a phone call from Takamura about me attending some meeting with one of his contacts, and I agree to do that, but he can wait. Nobody likes Takamura anyways. For now, I start tracking down Parker by calling Judy on my way to Lizzie's bar. She tries to avoid talking to me, so I just show up at the bar and make my way down to her lair, where she's in an argument with Susie Q, the leader of the Mocs, who are the gang that run Lizzie's bar. I then speak with her, and after a while, I convince her that I just want to talk to Evelyn, and she points me towards Clouds. It's a dollhouse that Evelyn used to work at, and apparently it's the best place to start looking for her. With that, I leave the bar and make my way over to this mega building where I ride up an elevator and find the Clouds Club. After paying a bunch of eddies and selecting one of the dolls, I get to enter, but I have to leave all my weapons at the door, so I enter and make my way over to this booth where I immediately use the safe word cause ain't nobody got time for this mystical moment malarkey. Who the hell am I? Malarkey? Really? Guess I'm a boomer now. Oh well. Moving on, the doll is like an ATM for information because the only way I can get her to speak is by bribing her. So I go ahead and make my way up to this VIP area by liberating a key from one of the bouncers before speaking with another doll, and I just realized I never really mentioned what a doll is. You know, it's just another way to say mankind's oldest profession, and if you don't get that, then you're not old enough or something, I don't know. Anyways, he tells me that the guy who runs this place, Mr. Woodman, sent Evelyn away for some reason. So I sneak my way up to his office and get engaged in this dialogue tree that, funnily enough, keeps ending up with my death. Since I don't have my weapons, I can't fight him, so I keep dying and retrying until I find the correct combination of responses to allow myself to get out of here without a fight. He tells me that he sold Evelyn to a ripperdoc named Fingers, and with that, I leave the mega building while grabbing my weapons on the way out. When I reach the ground floor, I collapse from another seizure, and Johnny goes on to explain why he hates Arasaka so much. I already talked about how much I like this speech in my last Cyberpunk video with only quick hacks, so I won't go into it again, but needless to say, I still like it a second time around. Silverhand be spitting facts out here. Anyways, I head over to Jig Street and find Fingers Clinic. Don't like that. Fingers Clinic. Yeah, I really don't like the sound of that. To make a long story short, I make sure no one has to sit and wait for Fingers ever again. Still don't like it. Man, I hate his name. Anyways, before he croaks, he reveals that he sold Evelyn to a group named the Death's Head, who create XVDs, which are brain dances involving someone dying. So, Judy and I need to find one of these brain dances so we can figure out where these guys are. Naturally, I call Wakako because she's the fixer in Jig Street, and she will be able to tell me anything I need to know. She tells me where to go to possibly find one of them, and after a bit of running around, I go ahead and find this shady dealer in a back alley who sells me one of the BDs before I return to Judy in her van, and we get into another brain dance editing segment where I find out that the Death's Head are located in a nearby power facility that's been abandoned by Power Corp, I think was the name of it. It's really a generic name. Anyways, we have to go ahead and get into this facility to go find Evelyn, and with that I ride in the van with Judy over there and start a very fun section of combat where I click on heads like it's my job, which now that I think about it, it is my job in a way, isn't it? Wild that, isn't it? Isn't it? Why am I being so trying to use phrases and words? Why did I script this way? Anyways, I end up dying a couple of times here, but on my third attempt I meticulously mutilate the minds of these mere mobsters like a malicious man-hunting malignance that meanders its way down a malevolent meadow to reach a murderous marriage of maximum magnificent mayhem. Yeah, I was watching this Willow video and then he just went on for 15 seconds force-feeding me alliteration like I was a goose being prepared for foie gras, and I think I'm gonna unsubscribe now. Anyways, after clearing the whole factory, we find Evelyn, and she seems catatonic. I carry her back to Judy's apartment, and after a bit of time, Judy shows me some recordings she found on Evelyn's brain dance cyberware. The dances reveal that I need to go speak with a group of Haitian netrunners known as the Voodoo Boys, who hired Evelyn to record the brain dance of Konpeki Plaza, the place we did the heist at. Man, I was killing it. Did an entire 2 pages, did all that alliteration, and then I can't say the place we did the heist at? What is wrong with me? Oh, this is the stuff you all never see, but today you're seeing it. It turns out that Evelyn was only being paid to record, and the heist was all her idea, but anyways, I need to speak with the leader of the Voodoo Boys, a woman named Brigitte. In order to do that, I go ahead and call Mr. Hands. He's a fixer over in Pacifica, which is the main location where the Voodoo Boys hang out, and he says he'll try and get me a meeting with him. With that, I head off to that meeting Takamura mentioned, and once there, I wait for him to show up, and we end up in a meeting with the bodyguard of Yorinobu's sister, Hanako. His name is Oda, and he kinda just berates us and drives away, but in doing so, he reveals that Hanako is going to be giving a speech in a parade, which gives us a chance to talk to her alone. All we have to do is get past the security that will be set up for the parade. With that, Takamura and I go have a meeting with Wakako, who gives us all of the plans of the parade for free, which is strange, but I'm not in the business of looking a gift horse in the mouth, so we go ahead and take the plans, and Takamura says that he needs time to prepare, and with that, I get a call back from Mr. Hands, who says the Voodoo Boys are ready for a meeting, but in order for me to meet with their leader, I need to do some kind of job for them. So I start heading over to Pacifica, but I'm interrupted by something more pressing as Panam calls saying there's some kind of emergency, so I make my way to the Aldercaldo's camp, and she reveals that Saul has been captured and she wants my help in saving him. With the plan set, we ride over to the the camp, and along the way there we see a massive sandstorm. Wait, is that what they're called? Are they called sandstorms? I don't care. Either way, it's coming our way fast, so we need to be quick, but also, I don't really care, so I take my time once we reach the base and start blasting away from range, picking off the Raffins one by one, delivering lead into foreheads like Santa putting coal in stockings, but admittedly, much more violent than the Santa thing. Man, I don't know, I'm only like a third of the way through this video, and I'm already struggling to find clever ways to describe headshots. But, you know, I'm persistent, so I'll come up with more. Anyways, I save Saul, and we exit through the storm drain before entering Panam's van. Which, can I just mention, it's kind of weird that all of my friends in this city have a creeper van? Sure, Panam also has her truck, but we are currently in the back of a black van, and you know, the stranger danger senses be tingling. Anyways, this mission also, for whatever random reason, is different from the last time I did it. I'm starting to wonder if I ran into glitches in the last one or in this one, but anyways, all of a sudden we're being chased by a bunch of Raffin, and it's an on-rails shooter section that is absolutely brutal. I die over and over as I try and take down all of the cars chasing us without dying. Unfortunately, this is one of those situations where sniper rifles are just horrible. The horrid ammo capacity and the slow reload are just so bad for these situations where I need raw DPS. I even start thinking this may be impossible and I'll have to reload an earlier save and come back later with a better build, but I do eventually manage to squeak by, and I think I was on the edge of dying. I was probably near 1 HP. I didn't look at my HP bar for the entire fight. I was just like, I gotta nail these shots, so I guess here in editing we can see. Yeah, that's how much HP I got down to. We arrive at this abandoned building and take shelter from the storm for the night, and I go play handyman for a bit by fixing the electricity and heater before participating in a discussion between Saul and Panam, where I tell Saul that working with a corp is a bad idea. He gets tired and heads off to sleep after telling us that sandstorms in Africa are called haboobs, and to that, me and Panam toast to haboobs, which man. This game gets gamers. It just gave us all a funny word to laugh at, and I feel like everybody does. I then pretend to be a concierge and try to make a move on Panam, only for my game to crash. Well, she rejected me anyways, so I decide to just leave the ball in her court on my second time through, and with that, we both pass out, and I wake up and head outside to speak with Panam some more, before she gives me yet another bike alongside the Overwatch iconic sniper rifle, which is the grad sniper rifle, but with the added benefit of having 5 rounds per magazine instead of 4, as well as having higher armor penetration and headshot damage. All of this without mentioning that it looks sick. Moving on, Panam gives me a big ol' smooch, and I leave the Nomads behind as Takamura calls me. He wants me to meet up with him at this market where we're gonna go over the upcoming plan to crash the parade. Yet again though, I decide that Takamura can wait because nobody likes him, and instead make my way over to Pacifica to work for the Voodoo boys. I enter this chapel where a hooded man tells me to go speak with another man named Placide in the nearby butcher shop. So I head over, and really quick, before somebody in the comments goes off about how Takamura is great, I don't like him simply because I saved his life last time and then he gave me a death threat in the credits that I didn't mention, but that really upset me because I saved him from death and then he is still mad at me. It is not cool. I don't like him for that reason, and you all can say, oh, whatever. I'm not siding with Arasaka until the last option because I cycle through all the endings. I don't know why I'm going on this random side. This video is going to be so long because of side tangents. Anyways, moving on, I go ahead and make my way to this chapel where a hooded man tells me to go speak with another man named Placide in the nearby butcher shop. So I head over, and honestly, I have a whole DLC to get through, so we're gonna speed through the story stuff for now. If you want a more in-depth breakdown, go check out my other Cyberpunk video. Long story short, Placide connects to my system and sends me off to sneak into a nearby abandoned mall that's been taken over by a gang called the Animals. Now, he wants me to sneak around, but I don't want to do that, so I die a couple of times as I use my arsenal of percussive precision to slowly but surely take down all of the normal animal enemies in the mall. It's honestly not all that difficult, save for a couple of the enemies, the more roided out animals, who take a couple of headshots to down and are really fast. I then connect to this communications van, and it's revealed told that the person running the show here is a Netwatch agent and that Placide wants me to take them down. I start making my way to him and encounter this absolutely massive woman who is the leader of the animals, and this is my first proper boss fight in this run, and it is brutal. She has this mechanic where you need to hit a weak spot on her back, but she is super fast and it sometimes feels like I hit the weak spot but do no damage. Anyways, I die a lot, like a ton of times. But after spending enough time to figure it out, I find a winning strategy of kiting her around one of these pillars forever and slowly but surely whittling her down until she falls. I then meet up with the Netwatch agent and kill him cause I'm kind of in a hurry, but once he dies, so do I. Well, kinda. Basically, earlier when Placide connected to my system, he implanted a virus into me that was supposed to basically just shut down all my cyberware and kill me, but he didn't realize that the biochip is like a Lazarus device that just keeps bringing me back to life no matter what I do. I can just keep messing up and come back to life. It's great. I mean, I don't really understand how this all works though, because it's brought me back to life twice now, but I can still die. So it's kind of selective with how it revives me. Either way, I'm not complaining. That would have been a really crappy end to this entire storyline if it was just like, yeah, the biochip doesn't work the second time. So I don't know what this is all about. Anyways, I walk out of the mall to some very surprised Voodoo boys who take me to Placide. I then have a heated argument with him before speaking with Brigitte, their leader, who takes me to her underground dungeon, which is not sus at all, in order to find some saucy memories from Silverhand's engram in order for us to contact Alt Cunningham. So, you know, this all kind of worked out. We were looking for her anyways. This is another Johnny combat section, so I'm just gonna tell you what happened story-wise. Alt created Soul Killer and also happened to be Johnny's girlfriend. Johnny nearly gets murdered as Alt Cunningham is kidnapped by the Arasaka Corporation, and then we get to play through this massive rampage as we assault Arasaka Tower and eventually find Alt Cunningham, but her consciousness was uploaded into an AI, and she is in Mikoshi or was in Mikoshi or something to do with Mikoshi and Soul Killer and all of that. It's all just Arasaka AI voodoo stuff going on. At least that's what I think. I don't know, but basically she was turned into an AI is the main thing, and the combat wasn't anything to talk about, so with that, we're all caught up and we head over to meet with Alt by passing through the Black Wall. Anyways, Johnny, Alt, and I have a long conversation where she agrees to save my life if I can get her inside Mikoshi, and with that, we return to Realscape, and I head out of the chapel where the biochip nearly kills me, and I have another heart-to-heart with the Silverhand man. It's a nice chat, but I've got things to do, so I head out only to get called by a woman named Songbird who claims she can save my life. Seems to be a lot of people doing that as of late, but anyways, she tells me to head to Dogtown to help her, and this is the start of the Phantom Liberty DLC. I plan to do it in this video, but first I want to get a few things out of the way, so once I complete Phantom Liberty, I can just jump into the final quests of the run. So with that, I ignore her request, and before I can do anything else, I get a call from Mama Wells who says she sent a package to my place, but I kinda ignore that as well, and instead go do a few gigs. They were fun, but nothing notable except for the fact that I got the Ashura Smart Rifle at some point during all of this, so quickly I run over to get this free cyberware that allows me to use smart weapons. These weapons aim for you, which is a super fun mechanic, and the Ashura Smart Rifle is the only sniper rifle of the group. It's a single shot breech loader that basically always lands headshots, and I'm excited to see how good it is. Moving on, I get a call from Panam, and she tells me to come to the Aldercaldos camp, so I do just that and find a very familiar sight as Saul and Panam are fighting about a job that she has planned. Naturally, she's going to ignore Saul's demands and do the job anyways. The plan is to steal a tank from a Militech convoy by using a train to block the road, so we head over to the train station and I spend some time talking to each of the Nomads there, asking them questions about Panam and helping them fix a generator, before Panam and I head up into the control tower and get the train running by using a punch card. Then Panam and I have a heart-to-heart and she opens up about being afraid of messing up what we have, and that's why she's been kinda distant and cold. I convince her that she has to trust her instincts and take risks, and with that, we're dating, I think? Honestly, I'm not sure, but I go down to the campfire later and we snuggle up together before I pass out and wait for the convoy. When I wake up, I jump in Panam's truck and we start racing down the road, but the train isn't moving fast enough, so I have to shoot this coupler with the turret to decouple one of the train's carts? What are they called? Train something. Oh man, if only I had more autism, I would know. Is it a train car? Yeah, one of the train cars. Something like that. Also, I'm not really sure if this would have a big impact. Like, it only has 2 behind it, and I would just assume that it's not all that much weight. Would it really affect the speed more than like 1 or 2 miles an hour in this distance? I don't know enough about trains. They're cool, don't get me wrong. I think trains are awesome, but you know what? Go down into the comments anyways and just let me know if you know anything about trains. Yeah, I'm gonna get all the train people to give me train facts. Where were we? Oh, right. The train reaches the convoy, doing a satisfying smash into the first vehicle, and I have a satisfying time as I use the Ashura Smart Rifle for the first time, and it is amazing. It just instantly one-shots almost every enemy here, and it's awesome, and I'm having so much fun, and I clear out the Militech guards and do a little bit of looting, which is funny because everybody's trying to rush me to get into the truck again, but you know, being an aimbot means I can also loot. If somebody else shows up, I'll just aimbot them too. We then take the convoy back to the Aldercaldo's camp, where Panam screams at Saul, which was very funny. And then after that, I go ahead and complete the quest by speaking with Panam one last time, and then I decide to go meet up with Takamura once again, and he reveals that he's got some special malware that should allow us to take over the float. We take said malware and test it by hacking the security system of this market so we can use the cameras here during the parade, and then Takamura says he's gonna go do some surveillance at the nearby Arasaka warehouse where the float is being held, and Johnny really wants me to go with him, so I say screw it and go with him. We make our way to this under construction building next to the Arasaka warehouse, where we look over the defenses and Johnny rolls out of the wrong side of bed. I then start the delicate process of stealthily infiltrating the warehouse by immediately opening fire on the Arasaka security. Yeah, stealth is overrated in my opinion, and I just want to test my limits here, and it's about time I show you all why I am worried about this run getting, well, incredibly difficult. So the enemies are super far away, but they can still hit me incredibly consistently, and I just found out that my bullets are despawning after a certain distance, as you can see me shooting and getting no damage. So despite using a sniper rifle, I can't actually snipe. I can't just post up on an elevated position and plink away at enemies from afar, which would be kind of okay with me if it weren't for the fact that the enemies can do just that. They are sitting there with pistols and like submachine guns, and they're hitting me from like a mile away, and my sniper rifle, designed to shoot at far distances, does nothing. It is incredibly annoying. Anyways, despite this, I only end up dying once here before going into the facility and mowing through all of the Arasaka guards. It's really quite the battle, as both sides are able to deal lethal damage incredibly quickly, but at least in this situation, I appear to be the fastest one around, as I don't die at all as I clear everything from the giant mech to the lowliest foot soldiers before uploading the malware into Hanako's float. I then escape through the roof of the building and get a call from Panam about the Basilisk tank being put together, and she invites me to come out and test drive it. So I start making my way to the Aldercaldo's camp, and along the way stop by my apartment to pick up the package from Mama Wells, which turns out to be a key to Jackie's bike. I then head over to the Aldercaldo's camp and get a test drive with Panam and the Basilisk, where we go around learning how to drive and shoot in the tank before, well, we do. It's kinda like,
you came to lose control. She whispers in my ear that she's my fast talking, neck smoking, nasty little freak. She be on to the morning, yeah, 7 days a week.
yeah, that. Anyways, we're interrupted from activities by an attack on the Aldercaldo's camp by the Raffins. So naturally, I use this tank to turn the Raffins into forbidden ragu with extreme prejudice. We then get out of the tank, and Saul makes Panam co-leader of the Aldercaldos, which was a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. I then go drink a beer with Panam, and she offers me a place in the Aldercaldos before I pass out for a long while, and when I wake up, I tell Panam what's going on with a biochip, and she struggles to understand. Anyways, I go ahead and leave the camp and get a call from Takamura telling me that we're good to go on the parade front, and for once, I decide to immediately go do what Takamura wants to by meeting up with him and going over the plan one last time before waiting for the parade to start. I then start making my way through the crowd, where I need to take down 3 snipers and a netrunner so Takamura can safely hop onto Hanako's float. So I take down the first sniper with absolutely no issue before making my way to the second, and on the way there, I have a chat with Johnny where he becomes becomes hellbent on killing Adam Smasher. I agree to do so, and after that I show off my absolute lack of stealth skills as I get detected incredibly quickly and it turns into an all-out firefight. I kill the sniper with little issue, but then end up dying a few times to the group of enemies that come right after him. Other than that though, it was smooth sailing and I managed to kill all 3 snipers and disconnect the netrunner before having my next boss fight of the game kick off against Oda, the bodyguard for Hanako. I'll be honest, I thought this fight would be hellish, but it turned out to be pleasantly manageable. I didn't even die a single time as I kited him around the arena and used my various rifles to land hit after hit. Also, as anybody who's done this fight knows, he has a really annoying mechanic where he goes invisible and heals, but I managed to lock in and he never heals for more than a second or two and ends up taking more damage while standing still healing than he ever gained. This made the fight a lot shorter than I feel it usually plays out, so after dealing with Oda, I watched Takamura kidnap Hanako before making a mad dash away myself. I then make my way to a hotel to meet up with Takamura, and despite him telling me many times to knock 4 times on the door, I only knock once, and hot damn does this guy take security seriously. The door explodes and kills me, so on my next attempt I make sure to knock 4 times, and then I speak with Hanako for a bit before an Arasaka kill squad blasts through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man and the floor collapses. I fall all the way down to the ground floor, and then I just use my Sandvetistan, which I hope that's the right way to say this. Anyways, it's a piece of cyberware that gives me bullet time, and I use it to escape the building as Takamura dies up on the top floor. I then find myself hiding in a hotel with a shotgun aimed at the door as Johnny and I try and figure out what to do next. Then, all of a sudden, there's a knock at the door and I answer it to find a woman who turned out to be a proxy for Hanako. So through her, I speak with Hanako and she offers to help me if I head to a club and speak with her face to face. I agree to meet with her, and this is the final main story quest of the game, or at least it leads into the final quests, and it is the point of no return, so there is no time like the present to take on Phantom Liberty. I head off towards Dogtown, but I get a little bit sidetracked by a phone call from Claire. She's the bartender at the Afterlife, and she wants me to take up racing with her, so I go ahead and do the entire questline really quickly, which just involves me winning 3 races and helping her kill a rival racer who killed her husband. Oh, also, while I was going to these races, I needed to make some eddies to buy a fast car, so I did a few NCPD scanner jobs and ended up finding this blueprint for an iconic sniper rifle called Breakthrough, and it works just like the Nekomata, except for it can pierce cover without being charged at all, so that's pretty awesome. Also, another random side note, the enemy that was carrying it is this lady who is just like dressed up to the nines in American flags, and I love it, it's great, but also she was randomly invincible for a really long time until I switched to a different sniper rifle. She just wouldn't take damage from the first one I chose, which seems like a really weird bug. Either way, it wasn't that difficult to get it, but overall I did a bunch of NCPD jobs, some gigs, and even took on some cyber psychos. It was just a bunch of side questing that I don't feel is relevant enough to throw into this video with how long it already is, and we have an entire DLC to go through, so we're gonna go ahead and skip past that. But at this point I'm itching to get into Phantom Liberty and see what it has in store for me, so I make my way to the Dogtown gate, where I promptly have a massive episode with the biochip, and after a while a woman appears. Apparently it's Songbird, and she somehow manages to make Johnny go away, at least for the time being. She explains that she works for NUSA, or the New United States of America, and that she needs my help to save the president, who is going to be crash landing in Dogtown soon. So yeah, just another Tuesday, I guess. Honestly, kinda going from 0 to 100 in an instant, but I can't fault them for this, as it is definitely catching my interest right off the bat. Anyways, it appears that Songbird functions like Johnny. She's apparently on the plane with the president, and she can appear as a engram in my head. She's kind of on the biochip, if that makes sense. It's very strange. But she tells me I need to sneak into the stadium and makes it very clear she doesn't want me to be detected while I do so, but I want to try out my weapons on all these new guards to see just how difficult this might be. So I just start blasting and quickly realize that I bit off more than I can chew, so I rush past the enemies and enter the stadium while blocking off the entrance I used before starting this long section where Songbird and I talk as I help her hack through various areas by restoring power. She can basically hack anything, and it's an incredibly powerful skill to have. Also, she makes me do a bunch of parkour, and yes, I do end up dying a couple of times because I saw some place that I wanted to go, but the jump wasn't quite doable. But eventually I pass through this section, kill a couple of guards looking for me, and make my way into this little market area of the stadium, and once there I continue to follow Songbird's instructions as I make my way up to the top of this ruined building, and oh look, there's the space plane. Apparently it's supposed to land somewhere in Dogtown, so I should be able to see where it lands from here, but wait, why did somebody just shoot a missile at it? Oh damn, I'm about to get splattered. Holy crap. Man, 0 to 100 this is the entire motif of this DLC and I am on board. Anyways, there's no time like the present and I'm not going to die without going down this massive slide. So I go ahead and ride the crazy ride and start running down towards the crashed plane as Songbird recontacts me and says I need to get to the crash site and find the president before Dogtown soldiers do. So with that, I start this section where I'm once again supposed to stealth my way through, but I'm just against that on principle at this point, so I do a minimal amount of sneaking and just start clicking on heads like some kind of morbid version of Cookie Clicker. The combat is already proving to be much more difficult than it was in the base game, as enemies seem to do damage much quicker. Despite this, I managed to get all the way to the ship without dying. It's really just a bunch of, as I said, clicking on Head Simulator and taking cover and playing it not slow, but just playing it smart, using cover and just popping out to kill one enemy at a time. Anyways, now that I'm here at the plane, I start searching through it for the president when suddenly I'm absolutely dropped on my ass by this woman with a gun who turns out to be President Myers. I tell her Songbird sent me and then we defend the ship from a few waves of enemies, including a mech. This defense section is actually really easy as Myers can do most of the damage herself, which is awesome compared to other situations. Most companions in this game actually just don't do damage or rarely shoot, or whenever they do shoot, it's just like they're hitting them with a water pistol for whatever reason, but she actually does damage. I'm also having a ton of fun with the combat because I got one of the perks that is exclusive to the Phantom Liberty DLC that allows me to hit these diamond spots on enemies that are guaranteed crits, and once you do enough damage to that part, they cause a mini AoE explosion, which is super powerful with the snipers as they generally result in that crit being done with just one shot, and it really increases my damage output against groups. After clearing out all of the enemies, we start making our way through some of the nearby buildings while trying to reach the safe house Songbird has told us about. We stop for a second and I have to do some minor surgery on the president before we continue on trying to avoid these drones. And this section absolutely infuriated me. So I know I've been joking around about hating stealth, and I kinda do, but there's this section where I need to hack a utility box without being seen by a drone that's patrolling. The issue is, I fail this over and over and then die to the enemies that show up when I do multiple times. It legit doesn't make any sense to me, as the patrol path for this drone seems to make hacking the panel impossible because of how slow the animation is. After a ton of attempts, I think I just get lucky because I was almost detected whenever I finished it, and then the drone just flies off without alerting people. It's just, it was non-intuitive, and I think this might have been a bug because afterwards I went and looked up a video of somebody doing it and they just did it first try, no issue, so I do not understand. I am either completely brain dead or there was something weird going on here. Anyways, with that out of the way, me and the president go ahead and steal a truck and drive towards the safe house while avoiding patrolling enemy cars. We then enter this garage and use an elevator to enter this weird museum, and I ask Myers all about the exhibits as Songbird kind of makes fun of her. It's kind of weird to adjust to the fact that only I can see Songbird. Like, I'm already completely used to it with Johnny, but I'm not used to it with another character, so I'm like, why isn't Myers like sassing her back? But then I realize that she can't hear Songbird. Anyways, we enter this room and try to use this elevator only to be ambushed by a ton of enemies, and it's a difficult little bit of combat. Enemies constantly spawn from these upper levels, and they will constantly push me down as they are incredibly aggressive. They just constantly move forward towards me, and yeah, apparently we need to hold out until Songbird can help us, this, but I end up dying a bunch of times before we're able to hold out long enough, and as I'm on the brink of death, this massive object in the middle of the room covered by a tarp starts moving. It turns out to be a massive drone tank thing called a chimera that is absolutely terrifying. Anyways, Songbird uses it to absolutely demolish all of the enemies, but then Songbird seems to run into some kind of issue and she loses control of the big beast, which immediately starts trying to chase down and murder both me and President Myers as we run away from it. This eventually leads to a crazy situation where I have to shoot this weird massive dance light thing to have it fall on top of the beast, which seems to kind of work, but then both me and the chimera fall through the floor and I pass out. I awaken to President Myers yelling at me and we get on our feet and I think the beast is dead, only for it to whiz back to life and start trying to kill us in this small arena with a ton of destructible cover. I'll be honest, I was a super scrub here and die well over 20 times. The fight is incredibly punishing as it forces me to play perfectly for over 10 minutes in order to win, as half of the attacks from the chimera itself can and will one-shot me if I am not using the destructible cover to block it. I struggle for an extremely long time, and it's one of the more annoying mechanics of this fight, and on top of all of that, I have to hit these weak spots to even damage this thing. And then, halfway through, it spawns a ton of drones, and I have to kill 2 drones that are repairing it, and then the other dozen or so are the standard combat drones we've run into multiple times, and they just keep attacking me no matter what. It is a daunting battle, and all of this is to say, it's an awesome boss fight and I'm a huge fan of it. Sure, it was a pain and a struggle. Sure, it felt really unfair at parts and maybe a little bit poorly tuned, but it was such a cool arena. The fight was really cool. The enemy was awesome. You know I love robots, and this robot was really cool. And in the end, I felt so satisfied when I finally won. When I beat it, it felt amazing. We then make our way to the safe house where Myers goes to get changed into some random clothes we found as I speak with Johnny for a while. Yeah, Johnny is back for whatever reason. Whenever Songbird just kind of cut out randomly, Johnny came back, so that's weird. Either way, I go ahead and get the power turned back on in the safe house before we sit down and drink some beers, only for a couple of drifters to enter the room, and at first I try talking to them, but that doesn't work, so I just end up killing them alongside Myers, and after that, we go to sleep. I wake up and speak with Myers, who tells me I need to find someone named Reed here in Dogtown who can help us out. With that, she makes me an agent of the NUSA, and I take an oath, and honestly, wasn't all that interested in the oath. I was just doing it to annoy Johnny because he wouldn't shut up about it being a horrible idea, and sometimes I like to goad the silver hand. After taking the oath, I head out and find this building where there's an old phone that I can use to find Reed. It's locked up, so I end up bribing this guy out front for information on how to enter. He tells me about the building's power system and how I could shut it down to turn off the system's security, so I go ahead and do that and enter the building to find an old phone and have this funny moment where Johnny teaches me how to use it because he's a boomer. I speak with assumedly Reed and he tells me to meet him at a nearby park, so I go to the park, sit down, and have a long conversation with Johnny where he complains about me taking the oath and then talks about how he took an oath whenever he went to war and breaking the oath makes you less of a person. Dude, Johnny, you are really confusing. I really don't get his obsession with this oath that I honestly don't care about. I'm gonna do what I want to do, oath be damned. Anyways, eventually a man sits down behind me and puts some iron to my kidney before asking some questions. I covertly tell him I'm here because of President Myers, and he tells me to go meet him in a car nearby after a few minutes. I then ask Johnny if he could see the man, and it's kind of funny because it really shows that we see Johnny as a full person, but he can only see or hear what I can, so of course he couldn't see him, so it just kind of made us look silly for asking him. I then go get into the car when suddenly Idris Elba shows up. Okay, it's Reed, but heads up, I can only see him as Idris Elba. I've straight legit looked up his name like 4 times because every time I see him I think Idris Elba and not Reed, so I keep on having to look up that his name is Solomon Reed in the game. So if that slip up happens happens at any point later on, that's why. All that aside, we head over and speak with Myers, who says we need to go find Songbird, but first, Reed is going to get her back to Washington, so I need to spend some time, well, waiting basically. I decide to take on some quests, starting with this really strange one where I need to do drugs with these two soldiers that work for the leader of Dogtown, a man named Colonel Hansen. He was apparently a part of the NUSA military and was tasked with securing a foothold in Night City a long time ago, and long story short, he kinda secured part of Pacifica and never left. So he's the de facto ruler of Dogtown. Anyways, I go on a drug trip with this soldier as he tells me the story, and I end up fist fighting with Hansen, and then I get to play as Hansen, and it's a combat section that I kinda lost the footage for. I only have like the beginning and end of this. I have no idea where the footage went, but I die a few times as I try and take it on. It's honestly kind of brutal, but considering it's not really part of the run, I'll just let you know that there was this convoy, Hansen protected it, and then the soldier we're talking to, who's telling us the story, took the convoy to the Black Sapphire, which is a giant tower that is the headquarters of the Dogtown faction. I don't know what they're really called. Hansen's Raiders or something like that. Anyways, yeah, this guy is really dumb though, because after the convoy arrived, he realized that there were some generators that weren't on the manifest. So, being an entrepreneurial person that he is, he goes ahead and steals the generators and sells them to some dude in India. Yeah, real dumb, because he is for sure going to get killed for this. So I need to find a way to help him and his friend, who is kind of guilt by association in all this, out of Dogtown and safe. So, what I do is I call up Panam, and after a little bit of flirting, I convince her to smuggle them out of Dogtown and out of Night City, and all they have to do is pay a little bit of money, so he has money from the generators to pay with that, and with that, I tell the two the good news, and they promptly leave Dogtown. I then get a call from Reed telling me to head over to a nearby bar where we're going to meet up with a former team member of his named Alex. He also warns me that things might get a little tense when he shows up, so I head over to the bar before him and order a drink from this nice bartender before Reed shows up, and once he does, the bartender absolutely loses it. She kicks everyone out and shapeshifts? What the hell? People just got superpowers now? You know what? You know what? I just saved the president. At this point, why am I surprised by anything? Turns out that this nice bartender here is Alex, and after calming her down and guaranteeing her a nice retirement on a beach somewhere, she agrees to help us out and reveals that the person we need to find is a man named Slider, who is a net runner for the Voodoo Boys. So with that, Reed and I head over to the hideout where he's at, and after being told to leave, I instead open up with my new breakthrough rifle. It's honestly a blast to be able to hit enemies through walls, and the crit spots, thanks to the new perk, let me easily tell where enemies are hiding. It's a fun bit of combat as we have to both kill the Voodoo Boys in the area, as well as destroy these vents in order to progress, and after making an incredibly aerodynamic mass grave filled with Voodoo Boys, Reed and I meet up with the Netrunner, who turns out to be a blind man. Seems a little odd considering I assume blindness is a very curable issue in this universe, but whatever. We politely force him into helping us find Songbird, and with that, he connects to the biochip and tries to back out of the deal, as he finds out that Songbird uses the Black Wall in order to hack. This is incredibly dangerous, as the Black Wall is a massive firewall holding back a ton of AI that, if unleashed, would kill humanity. Needless to say, it's kind of scary and super illegal that she uses it to hack things in the first place, but this scares him and he wants to try and, not help us, but I conveniently blackmail him into putting me into contact with Songbird, and she talks with me for a bit and explains that she's been captured by Hansen and needs me to attend some massive party that she'll be at in order to help her escape. Unfortunately, our connection to her is super unstable, and she ends up killing Slider, the Netrunner, that we were using to contact her because, she can't control her power. I then head outside and tell Reed what she told me, and he tells me that I need to work on finding us a way into the tower where the party will be held, while he works on a plan with Alex. So naturally, I call Mr. Hands, and he says if I do a few gigs for him, he will help me get into the party. The gigs I decide to take on are actually kind of difficult. The first one leads to me dying multiple times as I try and free a local doctor who is giving free treatment to the people here in Dogtown. A bunch of scavs have taken him hostage inside of this church where he does all of his medical work, work, and I have to clear them out with my long-range death weapons, but the problem is they are really good at killing me, so I, as I said, died a few times. Once I finally reach him though, it's revealed that he's harvesting cyberware from patients that died, and just to keep the quest going, I decide to kill the woman holding him hostage. Maybe I should have done like the moral thing, but I didn't want to like fail the quest or something, because my job and the gig was to, of course, you know, save him. So I saved him. I did let her shoot his hand though, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, that completes this gig and I move on to the next one, which involves me entering a Voodoo Boys hideout and saving a woman from them. So I go ahead and make my way there, only to run into a bug that is really weird, and I think it's caused by the breakthrough rifle. So I enter this mansion and I kind of just have to start fighting my way through all the enemies, the standard fare, just clear a dungeon. But what I think happens is there's this room where you're supposed to have a pseudo boss fight, and I think I hit one of the enemies in there and it triggered the boss fight, and you're supposed to be locked into this room when it happens. Well, it spawns a ton of robots, and one of which is stronger than the others, and that's kind of the boss, and then you have all these ads. Well, the one that's supposed to be stronger than the others is incredibly stronger, as in he is invincible. I spend a solid like 10 minutes running away from him and pumping lead into this robot, and it does nothing. And the reason I think it was caused by breakthrough is because I've been leaning on it heavily, and it happened on my second attempt after dying. But this time, for whatever reason, he is killable, so I do manage to kill off all of the robots, and then I enter the room and it's like plays this weird alert, and it's probably what is supposed to play when you enter the first time and the doors are going to lock behind you, but nothing happens, and then I go find the woman I'm supposed to save her, and complete the job. I then move on to the last gig, where I'm tasked with saving a couple of NCPD officers from one of Hansen's men. Now, of course, they want me to stealth through this and avoid harming any of the enemies here, but no. I end up dying a couple of times, as enemies have all of a sudden gotten a lot more lethal, while I've remained pretty much just as lethal. With how quickly I'm dying, I'm starting to think it might be about that time for me to go farm some eddies and get some really strong cyberware sometime soon, so that way I can be more durable. Anyways, I kill a ton of these guys on my way down into the basement, where I find the officers covered in blood. What? Apparently they were trying to turn this guy over to the leader of this compound, but he swallowed the drugs that they needed to return to the leader here, and he ended up dying. So naturally, they tried to find the drugs by cutting him open, which just didn't work. Either way, I have to get them to their squad car, so I escort them through the building, killing a few more guards before we reach the garage, only for the leader of this place, a man named Dodger, to show up, and instead of trying to talk our way out of this, I decide to choose violence very quickly and turn him into little more than paint for the garage floor, alongside his two goons that were with him. With that, the third and final gig is complete, and strangely enough, Mr. Hands wants to meet me face to face to give me the plans, so I go ahead and make my way over to meet up with him, and he makes me some tea before providing me with the plans for the Black Sapphire Tower. Honestly, I like Mr. Hands. He seems like a cool dude, and it's strange that we get to meet up with him because he's like the super secretive anonymous guy of all the fixers, so that was pretty fun. With that, I contact Reed, who tells me to go meet up with him and Alex at the bar, so I head over there and enter this massive underground complex that's kind of like a headquarters for the NUSA in the area, and after he fixes the power, Reed and I talk for a while, and he explains that Songbird is the one who ordered him to be killed. Oh, also, I forgot to mention that he was made out to be a traitor, and they gave him over to one of the corps who shot him a bunch. Apparently, they saved him and allowed him to take a post in Dogtown, but made him out to be a traitor. It's kind of odd considering they also assigned Alex here, like she would kill him on sight if given the chance because she doesn't know that this was all a cover-up. But, you know, the NUSA just likes to play with fire and mess with people, I guess. Also, I might be missing something here and not completely understanding it because, to be honest, the NUSA stuff does not grab my attention the same way that Dogtown, Songbird, and almost everything else from this DLC has. Like, I am not interested in Reed or Alex whatsoever. Either way, Reed explains he doesn't hold anything against Songbird, he actually feels like he failed her, and overall, I'm still confused as why he wants to work with the NUSA, because it seems like they screwed him, screwed Alex, and in a way, screwed Songbird by forcing her to make a bad decision, and yeah, it's all looking weird at this point. Moving on, Alex shows up and we go over the plan, where I'm going to sneak into the tower using some flooded tunnels, and then give Reed a way way in afterwards so he can lower a bridge to let us both reach the party. I then run into a bug where I can't pick up the scuba gear, so I have to reload and go through all of this again. Oh, also, Alex gives me her most valued item, her pistol, which is honestly super cool looking. Sadly though, it will be sold at the first available opportunity. Anyways, I then make my way over to the Black Sapphire. It's the tower that serves as a headquarters for Hansen's army, and I go spelunking in order to find a way in. This section was basically just a bunch of little puzzles with the occasional fight where I have to kill 1 or 2 guards. It wasn't very difficult, but it led to this section where I take down this sniper and then get to use this massive sniping turret to help Reed navigate past a ton of guards and security measures. And I have to say, as far as like the on rails or the not moving shooter sections of this game goes, this is by far my favorite. I don't know why. I wish there was an entire game like this where you're just like escorting somebody through from a fixed viewpoint, like telling them where to go, when to go. I don't know. I've played these sections in other games and in this one, and it is always fun to me. It's just this little problem solving thing, and I just really enjoyed it. And at the end, I actually got the sniper rifle off of it, which is another tech sniper, and it is in fact stronger than Breakthrough, I think. Like, it is legitimately amazing. It's a 3-shot, and when you charge it up, it does hella damage, and will also go through multiple enemies and even bend its trajectory, I think is the right terminology, to hit other enemies. So like the bullet will bounce from one enemy to the next. It is incredibly cool. Unfortunately, I realized this way later on and didn't know how powerful it was for a long time, so you might see me using Breakthrough, where this weapon, which is, what is it called? It is the Tsunami Rasetsu? Something like that. I don't know. It's got a weird name, but it's really good, and yeah, if you ever play Phantom Liberty, pick it up. It's really fun to use. Reed and I then change into our party clothes and ride an elevator up to the big party happening on the top floor. Once there, I go about exploring the crowd and speak with Reed while looking for Songbird. I eventually find her up on this balcony, and the 3 of us talk for a bit before the big man himself, Hansen, shows up and also talks to us for a bit. He then takes Songbird away, but she managed to hack into the biochip once again so she can talk to me. This allows her to show up as an engram like Johnny once again, and she reveals that she left a data shard in her champagne glass, which contains information that is going to be useful for us freeing her from Hansen's control. Apparently, we need to steal the identities of 2 hackers that are going to help Songbird open some kind of ancient data vault thing. She also told me that she can't leave until we open this thing because it contains a cure for both me and her. You might be asking, why does she need a cure? Well, she's actually in a very similar situation to us, but slightly different. The black wall that she uses to hack is slowly killing her. This data vault contains 2 things. One is just normal information, and another one is like this kind of core thing that has an AI in it, and that AI can be used for a specific purpose, and that purpose would be to cure both me and Songbird. Anyways, with that, Reed and I need to get scans of both of these sibling hackers that are here at the party, and I think they're from France? Anyways, there's a woman named Aurore and a brother named Amaric, I think? Those names are annoying, so I'm just gonna call them the siblings from now on. Moving on, Reed and I were supposed to take turns asking them questions and scanning them as we play roulette, but suddenly he goes missing and just says nothing to us, so I have to get them both talking enough and showing enough emotion is apparently what I have to do in order to get these scans off on them, and apparently this is just really difficult, but I kind of nail it, and I also, in the end, win the gambling minigame because I'm just that good. Eventually, Hansen shows up and he reveals that he knows that we're in USA, and he has me and Reed escorted out of the building, where Reed talks to me and reveals that he believes Songbird is the one who caused Space Force 1 to crash here in Dogtown in the first place, and that basically means he's accusing her of treason, so, you know, this got a lot more complicated all of a sudden. Also, on a side note, it was really nice of Hansen to just let us go instead of killing us, because, you know, I'm sure that won't come back to bite him. Reed's logic does track though, because if she's dying and she knew that there was a possible cure here, it would make sense that she would do anything to get here. Anyways, all of that aside, I was told to wait for Reed and Alex to contact me with more information, so I do that by literally just waiting. After getting contacted, I head over to the safe house underneath the bar, where I get told the plan, which is pretty simple. I'm gonna go find these towers used by a rental company to hack into them and find the tracking signal for the siblings' car so we can track them. I also find another iconic sniper rifle in this room, which just so happens to be a burst fire explosive style of rifle. It's called the Osprey, and whenever you hip fire, it's actually fully automatic, but with a slower fire rate than the burst fire, and it's honestly sick. With that, I head out, and Songbird contacts me to tell me that she wants to meet up in one of her favorite places in Dogtown. I have to wait until nighttime, so I just do that and wait for Songbird to show up, and she of course shows up as an engram, not in person, and she shows me around one of her favorite places in Dogtown, which is this kind of overlook area with a few couches, and it's honestly a lot of fun talking with her. I learn about her growing up in Boston and becoming part of the NUSA kind of by force. Reed recruited her, and in the end she reveals that she wants to escape the NUSA and have us both cured. She asks me to trust her and go along with her on this, and I tell her I will. With that, I go to those towers, and nothing of note really happens besides me paying a little kid a bunch of eddies for information, and after that we get the tracking data for the car, and I'm told to wait for Reed to do his part of the plan. So while that's going on, I head over and meet up with Alex, where we have a small party, and I just have to say that the dancing in this game is hilarious. You just like wave your hands and the other person does some awkward dance moves, and this entire thing is just wonderfully wacky to me. Anyways, after the party I still have some more time to kill, so I take on another gig where I'm supposed to save this BD actress named Lena from a nearby BD store. So I show up to the store and find Lena, but it actually isn't Lena. It's one of her fans that had his brain zapped and now believes himself to be Lena. His buddy here proposes a weird plan to get both fake Lena and real Lena together for a brain dance shoot, and I agree, so I head over and get in a fight with a bunch of guys outside her house, only to die pretty quickly. On my second attempt, I use the new sniper I got to turn these meatheads into meat piles, and it's a super fun gun to use, and I'm very happy to have it in my warsenal. I'm pretty sure that was a typo in my script, but warsenal kind of goes hard, so I'm cool with it. Anyways, I wait for Lena to show up and convince her to do a BD shoot with the imposter Lena, and then a while later I get a message that the two Lenas aren't playing nice together. So I head over and have to help out by directing the shoot, and it turns out that fake Lena is upset because she thinks the real Lena is an imposter. Well, either way, I'm here to get a job done, so I fix it by telling them to pretend to be sisters, which is, well, it is one way to fix it, and also really weird. With that, the quest is complete, and I head over to this Ripper dock that Reed told me to meet with, because I need to get the shape-shifting tech that Alex used earlier in order to steal the identity of one of the siblings. When I get to the dock, I find Reed there, and he tells me that I need to use this special software to subdue Songbird so that we can take her back to the NUSA, and it's here where I realize that this spy thriller of a DLC is presenting a big choice, but thankfully for me, they made it easy. I'm going with Songbird because she's the only one here with a personality that I actually give a damn about. Sure, Reed is cool, but he also just seems like a bad choice. Like, the NUSA has proven time and time and time again that it screws over all of the individuals involved except for President Myers, and he is still loyal to them for whatever stupid reason. I would go with Reed if he was like, hey, screw the NUSA, I want to take her in, but I'm not handing her over to the NUSA, we're gonna find out something else. Instead, he's like, I'm going to be the lapdog for the president, and I'm like, yeah, you know, whatever. Anyways, the doc starts doing surgery on me, and the entire time she does so, Johnny is going on and on about how all of this is bad and how he hates the situation, and for once, I kind of agree with his complaining. I hate the situation too, and we're making sure Songbird gets out of it in the best possible situation, because as I said, she's the only one who seems to be any kind of honest with me, and even if she's lying, I'm, you know what, just screw the system, man, screw the government. Oh man, I don't know why I'm trying to justify this so much. With my new face installed, I get a call from Reed, and it seems we lost the tracking on the siblings' cars, so everything I did was pointless. I have to go up onto this rooftop and watch all the cars entering Dogtown until we see the one they are in. This is actually kind of fun. It's really chill just sitting here and scanning every car that goes by, and it's kind of interesting at least. I'm sure that this would be annoying the 4th or 5th time through, but right now it doesn't grate on me, so I actually like it. Anyways, after a car crash and a lot of waiting, the siblings show up, and I head over to the garage where they parked and get into the trunk of their car after using this gizmo hacking device thing, which, you know, the last time I used one of these, it did not end up well for me. I made my best friend, who then literally died a little while later, so you know, like, it's just, I don't really trust it. But either way, I hide in the trunk and wait for them to show up, and after listening to them for a bit to learn more about their situation, I remotely take over their car and start driving it towards Reed and Alex. They managed to gain control away from me temporarily way, but in the end I get them into this garage, and then Reed and Alex murder them, which wasn't a part of the plan, and I voice that. They tell me to get over it, and I guess I have to, and then I go ahead and assume the role of the brother, Amaric. I am then given a few hints at the bottom left of the screen to stay in character as we make our way over to Hansen Stadium. After making our way through a long security section, we reach this room where Hansen and Alex will monitor me and Songbird as we open the vault. I sit down with Hansen and we have to use all the little hints in the bottom left hand corner to avoid being detected as an imposter by Hansen, and after a long chat with him, I'm sent down with Songbird to start working. Songbird looks incredibly rough. Whatever is going on with the black wall that's killing her is taking a huge toll. Anyways, we start working and eventually I'm prompted to use the software to subdue her, but I don't. Instead, we unlock the vault and take the cure as Songbird hacks everything in the stadium, causing mass chaos. We then have to exit the building ourselves, and this involves a combination of telling Songbird to hack various objects and me fighting the soldiers with whatever I have. Unfortunately, I lost all of my weapons through the security checkpoint, so I don't have access to any of my snipers, so I have to kind of make a mad dash for it until I reach the security checkpoint and grab my weapons back, and even after that, I realize that the enemies are incredibly capable. They are killing me anytime I position just a bit too far out of cover. It really is a high-stakes game of peekaboo, as both sides are able to kill each other in a moment's notice, but I do get a lot of good use out of my various weapons. The Osprey has been decent for killing off group, Breakthrough has been incredibly useful ever since I got it, and also the new Ramatsu, whatever, hard to say one, is very fun to use, especially with a fully charged shot that ends up killing possibly 3 enemies at a time. All of this isn't even mentioning how cool it is that I can tell Songbird to hack a tank and have it just start shooting at enemies, or hack all these cars and have them drive into the enemies, and even hacking a helicopter and having it turn on its blades and kill everybody in the room. Her ability is amazing and it was very fun to see. Anyways, after that long and cool dungeon crawl, we escape the stadium and get into separate cars as I'm told to wait for Songbird to contact me so we can move along with her plan to cure us. I then spend a while waiting, just kind of enjoying Night City, until I get a call from Reed and he says he's going to hunt me and Songbird down and that there will be no mercy or something like that. He's just trying to be scary or whatever. I decide I may as well do something while I wait for Songbird to contact me, so I decide to do the chip and in quest where I hand control of my body over to Johnny and he goes on an absolute bender. He drinks like a fish, gets me a tattoo, gets in a car crash with a stripper. It's really just a crazy night, and I wake up in a motel with Rogue and we talk for a bit before she leaves, and then I argue with Johnny for a while. As I leave the motel, Songbird tells me to meet her somewhere in Night City, and with that, it's time to take on the final quests of Phantom Liberty. So I meet her in the back of this van, and she is looking beat down. She's clearly dying, and it's happening very quickly. We start making our way to the spaceport, and I have to go in and find a way for her to enter secretly. She needs to get on a rocket and head to the moon, where she will work on the cure with some company there. So I head inside, get a disguise, and spend a long while sneaking my way up to the roof, which wasn't really all that difficult, where I use a fire hose to pull her up, while also almost killing both of us as I have a seizure trying to pull her up because of the biochip. Anyways, after flirting with death, we're both on the roof, and our plan is ruined moments later as it's revealed the NUSA knows we're here, and both Reed and President Myers show up in a helicopter. This is really bad as we're currently sneaking around a bunch of utility tunnels here on the roof as we eavesdrop on Reed and Myers talking about how they need to capture Songbird. Then we enter the most difficult combat section of Cyberpunk as I have to fight through a huge amount of NUSA soldiers. Honestly, I can't do justice to just how difficult this massive dungeon was. I have well over 50 clips of me dying throughout the various sections of the spaceport battle, and I regret not buying better cyberware before this fight, as it would have made this a lot easier, as the big issue is that enemies are incredibly accurate at all distances, and I'm simply unable to just tank any amount of damage. I am a complete glass cannon, which I guess makes sense as a sniper, but it is very difficult as on top of all of this, my weapons are incredibly lethal, but at this point, because of the very hard difficulty, enemies are bullet sponges, so most of them don't get killed in a single shot, and the ones that do have to be a headshot, so I have to be incredibly accurate or get multiple headshots before enemies go down, and it is very much so this tightrope of perfection that I have to walk down, and I know that I put myself in this situation. I know that you can go down in the comments and be like, if you had better cyberware to make yourself tankier, then this would have been a lot easier. Yes, you are absolutely right, but by not doing that, I have to say this was a very satisfying win. I struggle for a long time, and it is brutal, but I am so happy I actually didn't get cyberware, because this made it so much more satisfying to basically just tell the game, no, I will do this on sheer power of will, and that's what I did. Now, let's talk about what I would consider the actual hardest part of the spaceport, which is defending Songbird as she hacks this train terminal. So we already fought through this entire spaceport, and it was a slog, and we finally reached this control tower for a train that will take us to our spacecraft. We enter the tower, and it turns out that it's going to take some time to hack through it and get the train coming to us so we can ride it over to the spacecraft. So Songbird tells me to defend the tower, and basically it kicks me out. I exit, and the door comes down, and I can no longer re-enter the tower, and it's a super exposed position. I'm up on the high ground, and I do have this wall for cover, but all of the enemies have clear line of sight to me, so all of them are able to hit me from most range, and there is about 40 to 60 enemies that end up spawning throughout this entire section. So, after dying a lot of times, my winning strategy came out to be, I had to run away to basically the other side of this arena and just start planking away at anybody and everybody who pops their head out and try and get the first shot off always. I also had to worry about a few enemies who now have active camouflage, so they're effectively invisible. I'm just blind and I don't see them, and they will sneak up on me, and they have shotguns, so they are a guaranteed one-shot if I do not get on top of them very quickly and deal with them. Furthermore, towards the end of this section, a bunch of drones spawn, so what little cover I am manipulating to keep myself alive is useless because the drones can just attack me regardless, so I have to very quickly kill those drones while also keeping up with the waves of enemies that are still bearing down on my position. And if all of that wasn't enough, the helicopter that was probably shown in the clips before of me dying, that one shows up, and that one is also incredibly lethal to me, but I eventually win by ignoring the helicopter and just sprinting to the control tower, which turns out to be the right thing. I didn't know if you could kill the helicopter here, but I am almost positive with this next section that we're going through that you couldn't kill it on the ground. So I sprint up to the control tower and regroup with Songbird, and it's apparent that our situation is desperate. We need a ace in the hole. We are going to die here. We have to resort to the black wall hacking that Songbird has been using, but the issue is every time she uses it, it starts killing her, so it's this weird issue. So what I end up doing is I connect to her system through a link, and I'm assuming what I'm doing is helping carry the load of the hacking. So maybe the black wall will start slowly killing me, I don't know. Either way, this is the biggest power trip moment I've seen in Cyberpunk, where they just let you go ham. It's like a section in a lot of other video games that I've played where you just basically walk and left click and every enemy that was giving you endless hell beforehand instantly dies. She hacks the helicopter, makes it crash, it's amazing. Then you start walking around and like literally just blowing up the cyberware that these enemies have as you make your way to the train. And once we reach the train, I go ahead and sit her down and just try and keep her awake as we ride. She is in terrible shape, and she is all of a sudden stricken with guilt as she finally reveals that the cure that we worked so hard for is a one-time use thing. She reveals that, like everyone else, she betrayed me for her own personal gain, and that there's no cure for me, just for her. Despite all of this, I don't really find myself all that upset with her. In reality, I feel like V would have done something similar if the roles were reversed, and after all, this is Cyberpunk and the Cyberpunk world. We don't get happy endings here in Night City. The city always wins, and this is kind of fitting. We get to give Songbird that thing that we have been striving for, and it's honestly a beautiful moment and super fitting. Anyways, she passes out, and I start carrying her to the rocket when, who would have guessed it, Reed shows up, and he demands that I give over Songbird. I end up dying a few times here, as there was no way in hell I was giving her to him after all we just went through, because I just don't trust him one bit. He might say that he has the best interest of Songbird in mind, but we all know he has the best interest of the NUSA and President Myers in mind. Songbird is a pawn, just like me, just like him. And maybe I don't play chess, but this pawn is winning this game. We're winning with pawns only. This is the pawn strategy. Anyways, the issue I run into here is that whenever I enter the combat section, it automatically pulls out a revolver, and it does let me switch weapons, but I literally can't switch weapons fast enough. Even using a Sandvetistan, I just can't seem to switch fast enough, so I was put into a difficult situation where I am breaking the rules of my own run. My run only stipulates that if the game gives me no other choice. Technically, I have the choice of using the snipers. So what I'm saying is, I just failed the run because I don't give a damn. Reed is dying, so I kill Reed with a revolver. The run is failed, but we're gonna go ahead and keep going because why wouldn't we? No, I can't beat Cyberpunk as a sniper. Maybe there is a way to switch to a sniper in time and shoot him, but I just always died when I tried, so I'm not gonna waste any more time. I'm gonna keep going, and I'm just going to take the L. I kill Reed, strap Songbird into the ship, and sit down with Johnny to watch it take off to the moon while completing the Phantom Liberty DLC of Cyberpunk 2077. The chat with Johnny is also really nice. He actually shows some character progression as he's kind of happy for Songbird and he's approving of what we do when normally he isn't. It was kind of nice. With that, I'm left back in Night City, and it's time to tackle the last quest of the main story, but first, I need to upgrade my cyberware. So I go about farming some eddies for that when I'm called by Alex to come meet her in the bar. I figure why not and head over there, and she explains that she is assigned to kill me, but she isn't going to do anything to achieve that goal, as earlier I told her that I'm dying anyways. Once I die, she gets to live happily in some tropical island, and I give her my NUSA coin so she can prove my death, and with that, I leave the bar and go upgrade my cyberware. I'll show what I'm using on screen here, and with that, it's time to complete the main story and this run. I plan to go with the Nomad ending again, which is a bit disappointing, I'm sure, but also, I went a sniper, and Panam is the sniper girlfriend. Like, it made way too much sense. I already romanced Panam, there's no reason to do a different ending. I promise on the next Cyberpunk run, I will do a different ending. I then go to meet up with Hanako at Club Embers, who wants me to help oust her brother. I basically ignore her as I already knew which ending I was going with, so I just go ahead and leave and collapse in the elevator, while Johnny takes me to Vic's clinic where he manages to stabilize me. I then head up to the roof with Misty where I call Panam to say goodbye, and she tells me to call back when I'm ready to accept the Alder Caldo's help. I then take the pill to block out Johnny and call Panam again, who comes to pick me up from Misty's, and I arrive at the Alder Caldo camp, where we go over the plan with Panam and Saul before I get into an ice bath and meet with Alt on the net, and she gives me some software that I need to use once I get inside Arasaka Tower. With that, I get officially inducted into the Alder Caldo's ranks by Saul and spend some time hanging out with all of the Nomads before spending the night with Panam. After that, I wake up and view the recon data Saul got on the drilling site that we will use to drill underneath Arasaka Tower. I then get into the Basilisk with Panam and we make our way to where the combat begins, and for once, the game forces me to use a sniper rifle, which is really nice as I get to shoot down these drones before using the tank to break through the front door. I then need to protect the Alder Caldos as they hack into the drill itself, and I quickly go about taking down the waves of Militech soldiers, and it's honestly super easy, barely an inconvenience, as most of them struggle to even notice me before they lose their heads. Once I've dealt with a few waves of them, Panam gets the tank working again, and I hop in having some fun blowing up all of the reinforcing soldiers before we ride the tank into the mine where Panam, Saul, and I are going to drill into Arasaka Tower, while Mitch takes the Basilisk to protect the remaining Nomads outside. Once inside the tower, things go relatively smoothly. I managed to sneak my way to the access point while only having a couple of seizures, and once I get there, I give Alt access to the building. She then uses all of the automated systems in the building to kill any and all Arasaka personnel as we make our way to the access point for Mikoshi, but right before we reach it, Adam Smasher shows up, and say what you will, but the man knows how to make an entrance, even if it's a bit rogue. Anyways, this kicks off the boss fight with Adam Smasher, which thankfully is much easier than the fight with the Chimera, as I only end up dying a single time, and that was mainly due to me being a bit disrespectful and just saying I could tank some of his attacks, as I thought I could kill him before he killed me. On my second attempt, I remained patient and slowly but surely whittled down the big metal man, and my only real issue in the entire fight was my stock of ammo as I nearly run out, but I managed to bring him to his knees and let him know that Johnny lives while he dies, before using my rifle to get the final kill of the run. I then enter this ice bath after hooking up to the Mikoshi access point, and I run into this, well, horrible situation. You remember when I sent Jackie's body to Vic's clinic? Well, apparently, Arasaka intercepted his body and used Soul Killer on him after he died. So there's this partial engram of him here. It's not him, but it is at the same time. It's super sad. He just repeats lines that he told us at various points throughout the story, and it is very depressing. But I say goodbye to Jackie and then meet up with Johnny, and it's revealed that I'll die in 6 months if I go into my own body, but if Johnny takes my body, he can live a full and healthy life. I decide I should take the body because I have Panam waiting for me, so I go ahead and return to my body, where I play out the final bit of the game, where Panam and I drive the basilisk through the desert and escape Night City with this awesome and wholesome cutscene. With that, I complete the game while answering the question, can I beat Cyberpunk 2077's very hard difficulty as a sniper? No, I can't. Even if you don't talk about the whole Reed incident and you want to write that one off, I feel doing like 9 hours of stealth takedowns really just negates this run. This was not really a great run for me, but it was a fun time, and I hope that you all enjoyed the video nonetheless. Thank you to all of the Patreons and channel members as they help keep the channel running. If you like this video, you'll probably like my other Cyberpunk 2077 run where I beat it using only quick hacks. Go down below and comment another challenge run. Make sure to like and subscribe while you're at it. You all are beautiful. This is Wait, no, I'm gonna be streaming on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube probably by the time this video ends if you are starting it within the first 20 minutes. So make sure to go down to the links below and come check me out live if that's what you want to do. Alright, this is Willow, signing off.
She's my trash talking, dank smoking, nasty little freak. She be on till the morning, 7 days a week. Yeah, I don't know her name. How she dance in the silhouette, purple rain, like she caught in a thunderstorm. Saw her face, fell in love, feeling dangerous, lost my brain, crossing lines on the